up, everybody? Well, I got another Alienware m18 with a 7900m gameplay video for you guys today, and today we're trying out this Chrono Odyssey game. So far, it has not run the greatest on anything, so let's see if a nearly $3,000 laptop can pull it off. The problem with laptops is, even though they sound super powerful in specs, they're usually quite a bit slower than their desktop counterpart. Luckily, the CPU on this isn't super ultra far behind the desktop processor, actually. It's kind of similar to what it would be like if you turn on eco mode, just a little bit less than that on the desktop processor. But the GPU, I mean, it's kind of its own thing. I don't really know what it was based after. The other one I could say, oh yeah, that's obviously a 6700 XT. This one I thought maybe it was a 7900 GRE, but it doesn't quite completely add up if you compare it in that tech spot GPU thing. So I don't know, it feels like it's its own thing kinda. But regardless, it seems to be a pretty decent GPU with a very powerful processor, and the processor kind of owns itself in the face sometimes and gets too hot. Hell, what I should do, since I don't edit videos on this thing anymore, is I should just turn the 16 core processor into an 8 core 16 thread processor. That'd probably cut down on heat like crazy. But I like testing it the way most people are going to play with it, so that's why I leave it the way it is. Anyway though, why don't we go ahead and hop ourselves into the game? Well, we're just going to do what we did on the G15 Advantage, and we'll start at Cinematic, which I'm glad I noticed I accidentally hit that. Sometimes when I'm going down, I'll accidentally bump things over. And this thing's always in DX12 mode, even though this says DX11. Just ignore that. As you can see at the top there, we're definitely in DX12. Afterburner would not lie to me. Not about something like that, anyway. I mean, with frame gen and stuff, it can definitely lie with your frame time, what frame times you're actually getting and whatnot. But other than that, it seems to be pretty truthful. I just wished it actually gives us more stats on this thing, but I mean, if it hasn't by now, I doubt it ever will. Anyway, game time. I was actually expecting worse. I mean, frame rate wise, it would have been fine, and I think now we've got like CPU overheating or something, but then it does the same crap when it's at like 86 degrees on the CPU once we go 1440p. So I don't know what the heck's up with this weird frame time nonsense. There must be something else in there that overheats. Like, I don't know, could be like the SSD or some other like HTC sensor like my G15 Advantage has. Sky's the limit, who knows? Alright, now we're going to drop it down to high, although I really don't think anything is going to stop this stupid frame time crap, but we're still going to get some FPS data anyway, because the FPS seems to be true, but the frame time is what makes everything suck. It makes this a pretty bad experience, honestly. It feels just about as bad as playing at something at like 30 FPS with all these weird frame time skips. or playing something on my capture computer through OBS. Kind of feels like that too, which is very strange. But regardless, it's game time. we shall now do medium, which is what we had to drop it to on the G15 Advantage to get playable FPS. Which probably would be similar here too, but it's still not very playable thanks to the god-awful frame times, but we'll still get some gameplay anyway. And this will probably run a lot better on most people's. I think there's something still slightly wrong with my unit here, but it is what it is. Why don't we go get some gameplay? Now for some camera recording gameplay. before this game seems to make something overheat. The processor isn't always getting that hot. Sometimes it's under 90 and that should be okay. It's rather hot still, but for a laptop that should be fine. And obviously something else is angry in there. We'll see if it still does it at 1440p, but definitely makes playing a little challenging. Let's go wrap up, shall we? Well, alright guys, that's a wrap for Chrono Odyssey on the Alienware M18 with a 7900M, and I think FPS-wise it would have been alright had we not had all the stutters. I don't think that was the game's fault though, because I mean the G15 Advantage got playable FPS. I think this thing was just like hitting the CPU too hard or something. And I even had the fans spinning 100% both on the laptop and the little cooling pad, and it still didn't seem to matter. So whatever is making or causing that is a nada happy. But hopefully it won't do that at 1440, which is next. So we shall see. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video though, because I sure as hell enjoyed making it for you guys. And until the next video, peace out guys.